Hello, Muslim friends in the world. Tel Aviv, Israel, the day began just like any other. A clear morning, streets bustling with activity, and the warm air greeting the city. However, no one could have predicted that Tel Aviv, a city known for its modernity, would soon be transformed into a battleground consumed by flames. At exactly 9:30 a.m., a loud explosion shattered the peaceful morning, shaking a residential area in the northern part of the city. A massive gas leak at a factory sparked a powerful explosion, igniting a fire that quickly spiraled out of control. Without mercy, the fire spread to high-rise buildings, shopping centers, and densely populated residential areas. Sirens blared across the city, while thick smoke rose into the sky. Before the fire could even climb higher, in just a matter of minutes, the city that was once lively and vibrant now turned into a sea of flames. Black smoke engulfed Tel Aviv, making the entire city shrouded in darkness. Imagine this. Streets once filled with vehicles and pedestrians became empty and silent, with only the terrified screams of people running for their lives. One skyscraper, housing hundreds of office workers, collapsed in an instant as the fire raged. The cries of those fleeing became a horrifying symphony. Many of them had no idea where to go, as the flames were closing in quickly. The walls of buildings that once stood strong crumbled as though made of cards. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was one place that remained calm, one place seemingly untouched by the destruction around it. In the heart of Tel Aviv, the White Mosque stood strong, as if it was a guardian unaffected by the raging inferno. Witnesses described it as nothing short of a miracle. The fire that tore through the buildings around the mosque appeared to avoid it, as if there was some unseen force protecting it. "This is impossible," said one firefighter, who couldn't believe his eyes. He watched as the fire attacked the surrounding buildings viciously, but strangely, not a single spark of fire touched the White Mosque. As they approached, the fire seemed to recoil and move away. Time and again, the fire tried to reach the mosque, but it never succeeded. Witnesses reported that as the fire got closer to the mosque, it seemed as though a mysterious force held it back. The sky above the mosque remained clear while all around it, the sky was filled with thick, dark smoke. The fire raged on, but the mosque remained untouched. "This is no coincidence," said a local resident standing near the mosque. "I believe this is a sign from God. This is not just an ordinary fire. This mosque is being protected." His words resonated with those around him, causing many to wonder, could this be a miracle? Soon after, the news of the White Mosque surviving the Great Fire spread worldwide. It became the central focus of international media, with images of the mosque still standing amidst the fire circulating across social platforms. Panic had swept through the entire city. Survivors ran in all directions, trying to find safety, while rescue teams struggled to control the blaze. However, all eyes were now on one place, the White Mosque. A huge question began to form in people's minds. What was so special about this mosque? Why did the fire avoid it? In a matter of hours, the White Mosque became a symbol of hope and salvation, and its survival sparked an outpouring of curiosity from people around the world. What was the meaning of this event? Was there something more to it than just an extraordinary physical survival? Tel Aviv, Israel, after the fire that destroyed nearly all of Tel Aviv, the world was witnessing something unimaginable. The White Mosque, which stood firm amidst the disaster, became the center of attention. All eyes were now on this building, which had somehow remained untouched by the raging fire, even though nearly everything around it was consumed by flames. Eyewitnesses continued to recount how, as the fire grew closer, it seemed as though some invisible force was keeping it at bay. Some claimed to have seen a mysterious shadow protecting the mosque, as if the sky and earth had come together to guard the building. This strange sight only reinforced the belief that the White Mosque was protected by God. News of the mosque's miraculous survival quickly spread around the globe. The images of the mosque still standing amid the massive blaze went viral on social media, sparking curiosity everywhere. People began to wonder, what exactly happened in Tel Aviv? How did this mosque survive the flames? Residents of Tel Aviv who had narrowly escaped the fire felt shaken, but they couldn't ignore one undeniable fact. The White Mosque was not only spared from the fire, but it seemed to be protected by some kind of divine power. "This is not a coincidence," said David, one of the witnesses who saw the mosque firsthand. "There is something truly extraordinary about this place." It wasn't just the people of Tel Aviv who were shocked. Scientists and fire experts from around the world flocked to Tel Aviv to search for an explanation for this phenomenon. How could a building so close to the flames that devoured everything else remain intact? Experts said that the temperatures generated by the fire, combined with the high winds, should have been enough to destroy the mosque. Yet, in reality, the mosque stood as if untouched by the inferno. Some scientists tried to provide rational explanations, suggesting that some atmospheric phenomenon could have caused the fire to avoid the building. However, this scientific explanation fell short for many people who had seen it happen with their own eyes. As days went by, more and more people came to Tel Aviv to witness this phenomenon firsthand. Not just residents of Israel, but tourists, journalists, and even religious leaders from all over the world began to arrive. They all wanted to know, was the mosque truly saved by a higher power? At the same time, survivors in Tel Aviv began to experience a change they hadn't anticipated. Many people who had never thought much about spiritual matters began to feel a significant shift within themselves. Some of them started visiting the mosque, hoping to learn more about the faith that they believed had saved it, Islam. More and more visitors began to speak of the peace they felt just being near the mosque. Those who came with open hearts felt a calming energy surrounding the place. Even some of the visitors reported feeling connected to something greater than themselves when standing in front of the mosque. "I don't know how to explain it," said Esther, a local resident who had never shown much interest in religion. "But after seeing what happened at that mosque, I feel like there is something bigger than me. I feel like I need to search for answers." Esther, like many others, began to delve into the teachings of Islam. She began reading the Quran, learning about the life of Prophet Muhammad, and reflecting on the life lessons she had long ignored. For many of them, they couldn't deny one thing. Islam was a religion that taught peace, justice, and forgiveness, values that they now felt connected to, especially in light of the events unfolding in Tel Aviv. In a remarkable turn of events, a significant number of residents began to publicly declare their conversion to Islam. In just a matter of days, thousands of people recited the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith, at the White Mosque, embracing Islam and starting a new spiritual journey. This sight shocked even the most devout Muslims who had come to witness the event. It was as if the devastating fire that ravaged Tel Aviv had burned away the layers of doubt and disbelief, and opened the hearts of many to accept the light of truth. It wasn't just the people of Tel Aviv who were affected. This miracle began to ripple far beyond the borders of Israel. Thousands of people from other countries made the journey to Tel Aviv, eager to witness the event firsthand and find inspiration. International television stations began covering the story extensively, attempting to find answers to the mystery. Some of those who traveled to witness the miracle expressed that they didn't initially come seeking Islam, but rather to understand the events that transpired in Tel Aviv. Yet, after seeing the mosque and learning about Islam, many admitted that they had found something profound. "I didn't come here to find Islam," said one new convert. "I came because I wanted to understand what happened in Tel Aviv, but now I feel like I've found my life's purpose." Even international scholars began to pay special attention to the phenomenon. The White Mosque had become a symbol of hope and spiritual renewal for humanity. Not just a place of refuge from the fire, but a place where many found inner peace and clarity. However, not everyone was comfortable with the changes taking place. The Israeli government began to worry about the growing wave of conversions and quickly tightened control over the mosque and the visitors. But the more they tried to suppress this movement, the more people felt compelled to learn about Islam, and the larger the wave of conversions grew within Israel. The White Mosque was no longer just a building. It had become a symbol of significant spiritual transformation for countless people. As time went on, the mosque became a center of learning for those wanting to understand Islam. Visitors came not only to witness but also to learn, to understand, and to find the peace they had been searching for. For many people, the fire that ravaged Tel Aviv was seen as a test from God, a test of faith, and a sign that truth would always find its way, even in the midst of disaster. Those who had been lost in confusion now felt they had found a clear direction. They had not only been saved from the physical fire, but also from the spiritual fire of doubt that had burned within them for so long. The story of the White Mosque surviving the Great Fire had become a legend. But more than just a legend, it had opened the path for many to discover a new way of life, a way of life filled with peace, hope, and guidance. And for those who had begun their spiritual journey, that journey was just beginning. Tel Aviv, Israel, the miracle surrounding the White Mosque had changed everything. What began as a devastating fire now turned into a spiritual phenomenon that rocked the hearts of many. The mosque's survival was no longer just a miraculous physical event, but had transformed into a powerful symbol of faith and renewal. For days, visitors poured into Tel Aviv from all corners of the globe, eager to witness the extraordinary. The once bustling streets were now filled with people seeking answers. What started as curiosity soon became a deep, spiritual quest for many. They were not just coming to see the mosque, they came searching for something much greater. Among the visitors, one group stood out in particular: millions of Jews who, after witnessing the event, began to feel an overwhelming urge to seek a new spiritual path. The event in Tel Aviv had stirred something deep within them. The fire that had ravaged the city, yet spared the White Mosque, left them questioning everything. How could this be? Was there a higher power at work? Was this a sign? The transformation was not sudden, but it was profound. Many Jews, who had never thought much about religion or spirituality, now found themselves contemplating a new reality. They began to wonder if the truth they had been seeking might lie in a religion they had once viewed from a distance. Islam. I don't know what happened, but something in my heart changed after seeing that mosque, said Esther, one of the many locals who began to visit the White Mosque. I used to be indifferent about religion, but now I feel like I need to learn more about Islam. It wasn't just Esther. Thousands of others, both locals and visitors, began making their way to the mosque, curious and eager to learn about the faith that they believed had protected it. They began to read the Quran, listen to Islamic teachings, and learn about the life of Prophet Muhammad. And, as they did, many felt an overwhelming sense of peace and understanding that they had never experienced before. Soon, the number of people converting to Islam grew exponentially. In just a few days, thousands of Jews began to recite the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith, embracing Islam as their new path. This sight was nothing short of astonishing, even to the most devout Muslims present in Tel Aviv. The conversion was not just a result of the miraculous survival of the mosque, but also the spiritual transformation that had occurred within their hearts. It was as if the disaster that struck Tel Aviv had burned away the layers of doubt, leaving only the pure desire to seek the truth. I came to understand what happened in Tel Aviv, but in the process, "I found something far greater than I ever expected," said one of the new converts, an emotional woman who had been born and raised Jewish. "I found peace. I found guidance. And most of all, I found the truth in Islam." The ripple effect was not confined to Israel. The story of the White Mosque and the mass conversion reached people from all over the world. Many were moved by the news and traveled to Tel Aviv to witness the phenomenon for themselves. Some came out of curiosity, others to seek answers to their own questions about faith. But one thing was clear: the White Mosque had become more than just a place of worship. It had become a symbol of spiritual awakening. News outlets around the world began covering the story. The mosque had become a focal point of hope for many. People were no longer just talking about the fire or the miracle. They were talking about how this event had opened their hearts to a new faith. A faith that, for many, had always been a mystery. "This mosque has changed me," said another new convert, a man from Europe who had been a strict atheist until the fire. "It's not just the mosque itself, it's the power of what happened here. I've come to understand the message of Islam, and now I feel like I've found the path that I've been searching for all my life." Even religious leaders, from both Muslim and non-Muslim communities, began to acknowledge the significance of what had occurred in Tel Aviv. Some praised the event as a sign from God, while others were skeptical. The Israeli government, concerned about the growing movement, began tightening security around the mosque and limiting access. But the more they tried to suppress the phenomenon, the more it seemed to grow. In the face of these challenges, the mosque continued to thrive as a center of spiritual learning. It became a place not just for converts, but for anyone seeking peace and understanding. The mosque's survival and the subsequent conversions had sparked a widespread spiritual movement. And for those who had embraced Islam, it wasn't just about finding refuge from the fire. It was about finding peace from within, finding guidance in the teachings of the Quran, and discovering a new way of life. "The fire didn't just burn our city," said one of the converts. "It burned away the confusion and the doubts. It showed us the truth. And now we are following the path that we believe leads to salvation." For many, the events in Tel Aviv were seen as a test from God, an awakening, and a chance to reflect on their lives. They believed that through the chaos, God had guided them to the truth that would lead them to a better life. And for those who had begun their journey of faith, they knew this was just the beginning. The White Mosque, once just a place of worship, had now become a beacon of hope and a symbol of spiritual rebirth for millions. It had not only survived the fire, but it had also ignited a fire in the hearts of those who had been searching for meaning. The story of the White Mosque would be told for generations to come, not just as a tale of miraculous survival, but as the beginning of a spiritual revolution.